Welcome back, everybody, to another Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD podcast. We're going to be right back with this week's very special tech guest. But as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors, all that are kind of in the tech area. Now, you've heard me say before, these are all great companies I used as an AD, companies that you should be using. So listen to our shout outs, then listen to our Tech Tuesday guest, then go and visit these companies. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. Let's say thanks to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. You've heard me say many times, it's probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an AD. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Check out their great products today. We also want to thank our good friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. When I became an AD, I made sure our school was a Huddle school, and so should you. Go to huddle.com. Join the 8 million users. Your coaches, your students, your parents are going to thank you. Find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We want to say thanks to Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? I'm telling you, those days are over. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with great success, and so will you. Check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We want to say thanks to Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every day, scheduling, rosters, results. Their clearance and eligibility platform alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast. That's homecampus.com. We want to say thank you to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru. Whether it's a simple social media post or an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things your athletic department's doing, the team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to their website, take a look at their interactive touch screen. That's right, touch screen video consoles. You put one of these units in your gym lobby, your main school hallway, it's going to be a magnet. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their great products today. We'd like to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. For a professional, reasonably priced, just 20 months, totally online master's program, you can't go wrong. And you also get 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. You can't beat that. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We also want to thank Hometown. Hometown is changing the game for ADs, coaches, schools, and organizations with their solutions that include things like, well, big surprise digital ticketing, but how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising, and a whole lot more. Go to their website. They're going to show you how to save time, how to raise more money, and how to bring your community together. That's hometown.com. And we want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for everything: student athletes, teachers, coaches, how about parents? And the information that came back was overwhelmingly positive. I'm talking 98%. We still got to hear from the squeaky wheel parents, but the survey allowed us to find out their concerns, address them before they turned into something big, and bring them over to that 98%. But having that data, having that 98% data, incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to Athletic Surveys. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD podcast. I say this frequently, but this time it's really true. We have a very special guest today, somebody I actually worked with when I was the athletic director at the McClay School. He's gone on to bigger and I guess we could say better things. But our guest today is Will Daughton. Will was our public address announcer for a wide variety of sports at the Maclay School while he was a student. And he's going to share a little bit of that. He is I can say, a recent graduate of SMU, Southern Methodist University, where he continued to work in announcing and production. He is now a sports communication professional in the Dallas area, focusing, I guess we can say, focusing on the sport of pickleball. He's a writer, he's an on air personality, also does some play by play for pickleball.com, the PPA Tour, and Major League Pickleball. So it's all things pickleball. Will Daughton, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Jake, thanks so much for having me on. That was quite the intro. I really, really appreciate it, but excited to be here.
Well, I am available for speaking engagements. I can, introduce you at your next big program. Will, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us your quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Obviously, I know a little bit of that, but share with our listeners. As I like to say, give us your life story in 2 minutes. What's the Will Daughton origin story?
Can do. I've got the timer running. But no, born and raised in Tallahassee, Florida. Lived there for 19 years. Went to Maclay School for kindergarten through the time it was time to leave for college. Uh, did a lot of stuff at Maclay, like I'm sure we'll talk about. The public address announcing was super formative part of my development there. So excited to talk more about that. Went to college at SMU, like you said, and I just kind of knew even growing up watching ESPN, watching Sports Center, seeing people be on TV and getting paid to talk sports just seemed really awesome, and it really didn't even seem like it should be a job. And so I kind of knew that I wanted to be involved in that capacity in sports in some manner. So that kind of drove me to want to get into the journalism, broadcasting side of things at SMU, where I did do some of that, did some broadcasting, did some on-air stuff for them, and also got the Spanish degree as well, that I don't use as much, but journalism and Spanish degrees from SMU, and been living in Dallas for 6 years, which is really weird. I feel very old saying that. But no, it's been great. And now working in pickleball, been doing that for about 2 years, kind of as a digital journalist and broadcaster. And the broadcasting is really what I have a passion for. So that's kind of the story so far. Hopefully, I can add a lot more to it in the coming years.
Oh, I'm sure that you're going to. Let's go back to those Tallahassee, those Maclay years. Now, you were involved in athletics. I know you played some basketball. Tennis was certainly your big sport. We're going to get to that. But when I came to Maclay as the athletic director, I think it was at the start of your sophomore year, I'd just come from a school where we had another student who had done I think maybe about the same amount, about 3.5 years of being our public address announcer. And I went to one of your former teachers and coaches, Scott Egan, who was, had been the interim AD for a long time. And I said, hey, I'm looking for a student who's, got some sports chops, if you will, understands sports, but could possibly be a public address announcer. And he didn't hesitate for a second. He mentioned you and set up a meeting between the two of us. What are your memories of that first meeting you had in my office?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna tell this exact same story with you and Scott because I was on campus working that summer,
Right.
and then of course Scott introduces us, and I mean, I remember, when we had that meeting and just hearing about the opportunity, because I'd been in McLean my whole life, right? It's pretty small, I didn't really have an understanding of, how big some of these other schools in Florida are. And so I didn't really even know that the opportunity to do public address announcing was on the table before we even had a conversation. And so I think my first impression of that opportunity was, like, this could be huge, right? Because I've been thinking about it, as you kind of get into that sophomore, junior year of college, or excuse me, of high school, you kind of start to think about the future, like, hey, what do I want my life to look like, after high school? And I mean, I just remember being, thrilled, with the opportunity just to even get some reps, but honestly, even more flattered that I was someone that you wanted to talk to about it, and that Scott had kind of put in a good word for me. But I one thing I do remember, you weren't like too like pushy because I like it. For lack of a better term, I think. It was just kind of very much introducing the opportunity, and kind of you kind of gave me the chance to build my own excitement about the potential opportunity. And I think that was really big because, you never want to be pushed into doing something, especially something you haven't done before. But as I kind of thought about uh, the considerations and the potential opportunity that was there, it just became something that I really had to do.
Oh, well, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I remember it was you struck me, and I'm sure you've heard this throughout your entire life. You were going to be a sophomore. You haven't even started your sophomore year, but the expression "wise beyond your years." I felt very comfortable talking with you, and we kind of, what sports are you familiar with? Have you ever done this before? I know, I think from my memory, maybe it wasn't that first meeting, but we talked about the difference, and you know this as a play-by-play guy now, the difference between being a public address announcer for a high school game and doing play-by-play on TV or radio. Um, right out of the chute. I mean, it's varsity football. We had a new football coach, a lot of excitement, new AD, and now here, boom, we drop Will Daughton into the mix. What are some of your memories of those early announcing games?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I remember it was McClay versus Monroe, which was a really small school in Quincy. I think it was a preseason game, and I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. You had printed out scripts and everything, which was great because I would have been lost without that. But yeah, I mean, definitely had some moments where in the moment I forgot the difference between PA and play-by-play. I think that happened in basketball maybe one or two times, which is even worse because you are you're in the actual arena. But no, I mean the first few games was all about finding my voice, and I
Right.
can safely admit now I was making my voice probably 3 or 4 octaves deeper than it actually was at the time. You know, especially as a sophomore in high school. But no, I mean, I just, I was nervous, but you kind of have to go to just kind of put yourself out there, right? Because if it's something you want to do, you have to know that, hey, you're probably not going to be the best at it when you first start, but developing the confidence just to even find your footing, find your voice, is the biggest thing. And so just to have all the support in the world, especially from you, having had worked with other students at your previous institutions that had done it before, I think that was super comforting for me, just to know that, yeah, hey, this is not like it may have felt like it was a huge leap for me, but it really wasn't from your perspective.
Right. Well, again, you're very kind. The scripts that you mentioned, just basic stuff, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to McClay, all that stuff. I think you and I, work together to kind of tweak it. And as you said, find your voice. I can't remember specifics, but you said, should we say this? And I'm going, absolutely. And I should have thought of that. And so here you are with some fresh eyes, seeing it. I remember that first year, and you did a good job with that. Again, you were you were just a sophomore, but you had all those people up in the booth. You had, the spotters, you had the coaches, we had the occasional dad that shouldn't have been up there that I had to politely get out. But it seemed like everybody wanted to say, hey, you should do this, or he should say that. And I would my memory is I would try to whisper in their ear, just let him do his job. And I think there was once I tried to say, everybody shut up. Okay. But you really grew with football, and then you branched into other sports as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was, after the football kind of went into basketball and volleyball. The basketball was easy. Volleyball, I learned. Didn't really I kind of understood it, but I didn't have a huge great understanding like I did with football or basketball. And you know, transitioning into those other sports was different because when you're in the press box that we had in football, you kind of look out over the field, you see the crowd, but you're kind of removed from them, right? So it's really easy to get in your own zone, which I think is really freeing to get out of your own head. I think in basketball, which this isn't different, I think it's kind of the same thing for college or NBA games too. It's a much more intimate environment, and so you can kind of uh, see if a player or a coach doesn't appreciate the way that you say something. And that's kind of where I think I would sometimes go into more play-by-play than PA. Um, but no, I mean it was all just development, right? And we kind of made it into a big thing. It wasn't just a one-off, with football. It was, basically the whole first semester of that whole fall semester of those years. And so, I mean, it was just a huge growth opportunity for me, and I think that the confidence was the biggest thing to that I gained from that.
Well, let's go and I don't want our listeners to think that announcing was your only gig in high school. You were an outstanding tennis player at the state level. What are some of your memories of those days playing on the courts?
Yeah, I mean, it was the announcing in the fall, and then straight into tennis in the spring and winter, and it was. I mean, I had a lot of great coaches, over those years. I remember, middle school. Playing, I got called up to play like a varsity match in like seventh grade, which was really crazy, and really weird just being on JV. I mean, yeah, I just, so many great coaches, both at McClay and at kind of private clubs. But I think some highlights, we made state a few times kind of later into my career. I had a pretty crazy match my junior year that I interviewed you about a few years later for the district singles title. Um, and yeah, it was definitely hard to balance all of it. Especially when there was some overlap between maybe some of the later basketball games and maybe kind of the very start of the tennis season. I might be remembering that incorrectly. Um, but even with, even outside of tennis, still trying to train in the off season while I was, also doing all the announcing and, other extracurriculars. I was pretty heavily involved in student government as well. I
Right.
mean, it was go, go, go for, basically 3.5 straight years. But I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I think, uh, yeah, I was busy, but it's like now having gone through college and being in the working world, I still feel like back then I had so much more time than I do now.
Well, again, we'll wrap up your McClay experience with this. Um, I'm sure you remember, but I don't know if you're aware of the depth of your impact on the next generation of public address announcers at McClay. John Fletcher Butler was in the sixth grade your senior year and was kind of your shadow, if you will. And long story short, that spring of your senior year, he came in and just very professionally, as a sixth grader could do, said that he wanted to, have an opportunity to succeed you as the announcer. And I exaggerate a little bit, but it was almost like, Coach Von Chair, I'd like to be the announcer, with his sixth grade voice. And he had, and I attribute this a lot to watching you, he had a pretty good idea of how it was supposed to be. There was still certainly a learning curve there, but what are your memories? And are you aware that, he continued to do that for the next 6 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I remember meeting him kind of as I was coming to the end of that chapter, and he just had this like maybe it was like transatlantic. I maybe that's how you just the voice was so distinct. And I knew he would do a great job. Maybe not in sixth grade, but when he kind of grew into it. And yeah, I remember he asked me questions about it probably before talking to you, and just we actually had some really good conversations just about what it is, kind of what I do. Do I prep? Do I look at rosters, make sure I can pronounce people's names, like just stuff like that that seems so effortless in the moment, but actually does take a considerable amount of time, but beforehand. And so, I mean, I did know he had taken over. I didn't know, I don't think I knew how young he was, but it was awesome. And he, you know, we still keep in touch a little bit on, the socials, LinkedIn, all that. I
Yeah.
know he's done a lot for Florida State University, which is
Yeah.
awesome. I know he did that when he was in high school. And so just to kind of see that, him kind of take it to the next level is really rewarding. And I think it's super cool to maybe have even just played a really small role in at least increasing his interest in doing it in the first place. And it's
Yeah.
not only the announcing too. It's I one thing I want to mention is that also gave me the opportunity to MC, right? MC pep rallies and all of this other stuff, and just kind of really grow to be an ambassador for the school and really engage in all these other speaking engagements, which again only contributes to, my own confidence and me being able to express myself in front of crowds, in front of people who I don't know, but I'm still working to develop my credibility in front of them as a high school age
Right.
person.
No, I'm so glad you mentioned that because as an AD, I enjoyed seeing our students at pep rallies. I did not really relish, I wasn't uncomfortable with it, but I just didn't think the kids, they don't want to hear an old guy, like me at a pep rally. They want to hear one of their own. And you really stepped up and became a key part. I mean, along with our cheerleaders and coaches and all those other people that did stuff, a key part of our pep rallies, as did John Fletcher Butler, following your lead again. And I just want to emphasize to athletic directors that are listening, you have a Will Daughton. You have a John Fletcher Butler at your school right now that could do a great job for you in so many ways. You just need to find them, nurture them, give them an opportunity. And I left Maclay. I retired. I think going into John Fletcher's junior year, um, he introduced himself to the new AD, and he continued to announce, but he basically became like an SID for the school. I mean, he had his own office. Okay, so ADs that are listening, find those resources that are probably right under your nose. Let's talk real quick, or let's you talk real quick about your SMU experience. How did that all develop? Were you, and these are my words, not yours, were you the hot shot high school announcer coming in to take over, or were you the, one of 50? All right, kid, we know you did that in high school, but this is college. What are your memories of that experience?
Yeah, I think it was definitely more of the latter of those two experiences. I mean, SMU was great. They had their journalism school was really well done. Smaller, just because SMU is more known for their business school. But their journalism, staff, faculty were all great. I actually was able to get involved with their campus TV station. Very early on, I think towards the end of my first semester. And I had some semesters where I was super, super involved with them, and others where I was, doing other extracurriculars. I was in a fraternity. But, you know, learning, I think being in a smaller journalism school was really beneficial because it meant I got a lot of time to be hands-on, with the equipment. It's not like you're fighting 200 kids, for a single opportunity to go shoot a story or to get on air, right? It was really, uh, less competition and more openings. And then also just having those personal relationships with your professors was certainly a difference maker for me. And so it was also good because I kind of learned that there are parts of journalism that I love and parts of media that I really appreciate and I could see myself doing as a career. There are other parts that I don't really enjoy as much. And I think learning that people say learning what you don't want to do is just as important as learning what you want to do. I completely agree with that, and I think that was one of the biggest takeaways I had from SMU. Um, even though I got to be on air a lot, which was great.
All right. I'm going to ask you, what's that resume moment from your SMU broadcasting career that you can share? And then conversely, what's that? Oh, I can't believe I said that from your SMU career.
Oh man, putting me on the spot with that one. Um,
Let's talk about the highlight first. Okay. What's something that
yeah,
really sticks out?
I would say being able to. This isn't even like a journalism thing, but I remember I worked. I was able to work like a random job at a high school football awards, or sorry, like a the Herschel Walker Award ceremony for the best college football running back. I was able to work that event and actually got to meet Jonathan Taylor, who was a great Wisconsin running back, who actually won it. That I mean, Colts running back now, who's carrying my fantasy football team. But I actually got to meet Jonathan Taylor, at that and just kind of get to being able to just engage with someone, not even in a media capacity, but someone who is as dominant as he was in college and continues to do so. It's probably one of the bigger name athletes I've gotten to be with. And I guess from a more journalistic perspective, we did like a college football bowl show my senior year, and I got to like be the analyst, make predictions, and that was really special. And just again, just being able to tell some really cool stories. I did some about the Dallas Jackals rugby team, which was professionally in Dallas. Got to go out to the stadium, interview their players. That was a really transformative experience because I really enjoyed that broadcasting storytelling. That was
Well,
like three, sorry, for
no, no, that's
for
great. No, I love
highlights.
it. Okay. Talking about dream jobs. That's my dream job, to be one of those talking heads talking about football and all of that. So when you become that producer and you're looking for that, let's get a old high school coach in, don't forget about your old friend Jake. Okay.
Of course.
All right, let's jump to the present. Pickleball, professional pickleball, major league pickleball. What's that all about, and how can our listeners find out more?
Yeah, so I got really into pickleball pretty randomly my senior year. I played it with friends. Obviously, having played tennis for so long, I was pretty good because there's a very big crossover. So my initial interest in pickleball was going pro. Uh, and so I was playing tournaments. I was driving around. Actually, right after I graduated from SMU, I moved to Florida, back to Florida for about 3 months when I was training to go pro. Ended up getting some other opportunities, one of which was in pickleball, my current job. So I got really into it. I started following it, watching all the tournaments, and I was thinking, man, if there was a way to combine my media skills, prowess, whatever term you want to use, with pickleball, that would be ideal. And lo and behold, there was an opportunity that opened up probably July after I graduated, and I was working in New York actually for the USTA, the US Tennis Association, for a very short stint, like a seasonal job. And then right after that finished, I moved back to Dallas to work for the PPA Tour, which is the Professional Pickleball Association. And so, yeah, I mean, pickleball for the last couple years has been named the fastest growing sport in the U.S. I mean, it's getting celebrities involved, former professional athletes, investing in teams. So we have the PPA Tour, which is regular bracket tournaments, right? Singles, doubles, mixed doubles, all of that. Then Major League Pickleball, which is the team based. And so that's where you have a lot of the celebrity investors. And so basically, I've had the pleasure of covering pro pickleball, PPA Tour, Major League Pickleball for the past 2 years. A lot of it written for pickleball.com, but I've also been able to do a lot of broadcasting. I hosted a studio show with my great co-host Dave Fleming. about Major League Pickleball. I did some commercials for some sponsors. I've kind of done some impromptu PA announcing, I guess if you'll call it, at some events, and have done some play-by-play commentary as well. So it's growing fast, and it is never ending fun or drama, as some would say.
All right. You said I put you on the spot earlier. Here we go again, the second time. I want you to put on your analyst hat along with your pick up your racket or your paddle, I guess. Um, Now, again, for listeners, Will Daughton was an outstanding tennis player. Um, okay, here's the question, Will. You're in a tournament playing against the pros. How is Will Daughton, the player, going to compete this weekend?
Oh boy. Yeah, that's not going to go too well. And I'm not being modest when I say that. I drill with pros in Dallas, and uh, it never goes my way. We play a lot, but whenever anything gets competitive, they show why they're the pro, and I am an avid fan and employee of the sport. But no, I don't think I win a single game, probably. I mean, probably not. We'll see. But it goes to show that, these athletes, these pro players, they are full-time athletes, right? They are hiring trainers. They, film study. It's truly like you're a professional athlete. A lot of them are former collegiate athletes, from tennis, soccer, baseball, right? So kind of makes sense that they live the athlete's lifestyle, but yeah, it would not go well for me. I can say confidently.
You know, is there ever a point where you're drilling and you're rallying back and forth and you're going, all right, here, I'm going to hit a shot over here, and then they just come back and smoke you?
All the time. All the time. And it's like, oh, they're not covering that spot. Well, they definitely are. They just want me to think that they're not covering. And yeah, it's incredible what they can do, and very humbling, but it's fun nonetheless.
Wow. Well, I've got another reason now, a new reason to watch pickleball when I see it on TV. If one of our listeners wants to find out more about Major League Pickleball or the Pro Tour, or just connect with you and add you to their network, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, so I'll start with Pro Pickleball. So for PPA Tour, websites ppatour.com, majorleaguepickleball.net. We also have a TV network. So it's called Pickleball TV. It's run through Tennis Channel. And so that's literally just pickleballtv.com. It's available on Amazon Prime, Fubo, Samsung TV. It's like an app. So a bunch of different ways to watch Pro Pickleball. Um, as for myself, yeah, I'm on basically every single social media, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, I think Facebook even. But it's all my name, Will Daughton. So I should be pretty easy to find. I'm trying to make myself easy to find. But yeah, it's kind of how they can find me.
Wow. Well, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing with our listeners. All the best and continued success in your many pickleball endeavors. And hopefully we can connect in person down the road and catch up now that you're a big time celebrity.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but Jake, thanks so much for having me on. Great being able to connect as always.
Oh, yeah. Very cool. Thank you. For our listeners, we want to say thanks to you and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do Tech Tuesday just about every week and just about every day. We try to share stories from the world of athletics along with some best practices. So join us again on the next Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Always great to see one of your former student athletes succeed in life, not just at the next level. Guy's a pro. Speaking of pros, we want to say thanks to our sponsors one final time. Now, remember, these are companies that I used as an AD. You should be using them. Please check them out. I want to say thanks to Hometown. That's hometown.com. Ohio University's online masters, find them at Ohio University, of course. Home Campus, homecampus.com. Sideline Interactive, you'll find them at sidelineinteractive.com. Gipper, you find them at gipper.com. Vital Signs Wall of Fame, Snap Raise, Huddle, and Athletic Surveys. Please go and visit these sponsors. You're going to be glad you did. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast.